welcome to On the Couch with Marcia M, the show where we talk about real issues with real people. Today I'm having a conversation with Sonia Drysdale, telling her story about losing her son. Welcome, Sonia.
Hi, Marcia.
Hi. Wow. It's been a long time.
It's been a few years, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. Yeah. I remember you, our children
that's right,
in Warsaw.
Days,
yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And then our children were little bits.
Yeah,
and I know that we're both grandmothers now.
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Still
Nine
You've got
grandchildren.
nine? Wow. I've got 2.5.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, Sonia, you've been on a journey.
Yes.
A real journey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Your children? 3 children?
3 children.
Okay.
Son, 2 daughters.
A son and 2 daughters. Your son the eldest?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, my son was the eldest.
Yeah. What was his name?
Ricky.
Ricky.
Yeah.
I remember him.
Yeah.
Remember him. So Sonia, tell us about your son. Tell us about Ricky.
Well, unfortunately, I lost Ricky 7 years ago.
Okay.
How
old was he?
He was 27. He was 27 years old. He left 3 young sons behind, and a few nephews at the time as well. Right. I had Ricky. I had Ricky when I was 17 years old, actually. You know, and I was a young mom, and Ricky was my life. He was my everything. You know, background wasn't too brilliant, so when Ricky came along, he just filled
whose background
mine.
Brilliant? Yours?
You know, so he kind of filled many gaps for me. You know, so I was a young mom, you know, and raised this beautiful young man. You know, went on to have other children later on.
You did.
Yeah.
You had girls? I
had girls, Chantal and Jade.
Yeah.
You know, both doing their own thing at the moment. You know, yes. But
so what happened with Ricky?
Well, he went away on holiday to Italy, and a couple of weeks after he went away, he came back, and which is unusual for him, saying he wasn't feeling too well, complaining about backache, and he'd also lost about 3 stone within weeks.
Right.
Yeah. So we went along to see the doctors and what have you, and the doctor said, well, we'll investigate for the simple fact that he's been away, and you can get anything, even though it's Italy, you can get anything abroad. Okay. So they were testing for things like TB, malaria, that kind of thing. And while under investigation, the doctor said to me, if you feel any worse, do check in at the hospital, because there's various things that we're testing for. But if you do feel in between, go to the hospital, let them know what's going on, and they can fill in the gaps. One day he phoned me and he was saying, Mom, I really feel terrible. So I said to him, well, get your fiance at the time to come and pick me up, and we'll go to the hospital, see what But because of the intense pain he was in, even the ride was bumpy. So we just, he was in a lot of pain.
And at that point, you didn't know?
We didn't know, we didn't have a clue, because investigations had only just started. Okay. Anyway, he went to a hospital I won't name, and when he got there, they did a few blood tests and various tests, and the doctor came out and said to him, well, there's nothing wrong with you, there's nothing showing up in the bloods. And he said, well, I'm sitting here, I'm pouring of sweat, I've lost so much weight, I'm under investigation, there is something wrong. He was in so much pain, plus his t-shirt was soaking wet, and he was shaking, because by then he was having like night sweats. And the doctor's a little bit abrupt.
But they said nothing wrong with him?
They said there was nothing wrong with him. And he said, well, I'm under investigation, explained what the doctor had explained to him.
Yes.
But cut a long story short, the doctor threatened to throw him out of the hospital. Well, he threatened to throw him out of the hospital because, as far as he was concerned, there was nothing wrong with Ricky. And Ricky asked for a second opinion, basically.
Why do you think that happened?
Shall I tell you the truth?
Tell me the truth.
I really believe that. I believe because he lost. I'm not obviously they didn't know what he was like before. Yes. He was a strapping lad, as you know. But I believe that. I think they thought he was on drugs. And he was probably having some.
So skinny,
that's right, and the sweating and the shaking and what have you. So I think they kind of just dismissed it. Wow. And there was a nurse who was backing the doctor up to say, look, let's, he's not. Just continue to investigate and what have you. Anyway, by the end of the week, literally, they'd called him to say they needed to, he had to go to the manor for some tests. And I was at work at the time. And the day that I went to the hospital to visit, because I mean I was there 24/7,
Yeah.
you know, and you know he said to me, I've got something to tell you. And he said, he's been diagnosed with cancer. But all I remember is just literally, I just ran out of the room, didn't want to hear anything else, you know. And but you know, I give God thanks because on the journey he was such a strong. It was an inspiration because he just fought and he fought and he fought.
So once he was diagnosed,
it was
then he continued to fight.
Yeah, he had to fight it, but he didn't. When I look at other sufferers, he didn't suffer as much as they did because he was very positive.
Right.
He was a very positive young man.
Okay.
But it was a difficult journey for me as a mum to see, you know. And I mean, even with his father, the father that adored him at one point in his life had let him down quite a few times. Even, I mean,
while he was ill.
While he was ill.
So how long did your son fight cancer for?
5 years.
Okay. What cancer was it?
It was Hodgkin's lymphoma. But it was actually cancer-free when he passed away. He was actually cancer-free. His sister had to give him stem cell.
Right.
So he did a stem cell.
So take us through the kind of the journey. So from being diagnosed, and then what was the treatment process?
Well, they started with chemotherapy.
Okay.
And the
so he was a young man, 27,
yeah.
had children.
That's right. Yeah, 3 left.
Was engaged.
Yes, engaged and married, 3 sons.
Right.
And he was responding well to treatment. The very first chemotherapy, it had literally shrunk down to nothing.
Okay.
And, you know, he was doing well. You know, still being Ricky, you know, helping around, being the joker that he was, being very strong and very positive as well.
Did he gain any weight?
Yeah. And I mean, he still trained and, you know, he still did his everyday duties on top of, you know, fighting this disease. When he was going through the chemo, obviously there's the vomiting and what have you, but he always tended to recover pretty quick and back on his feet, you know. But then we noticed, though they gave him a little bit of reprieve, he came back again. He came back after. Yeah, it just kept coming back, and each time it came more aggressive. So then they decided to do this stem cell treatment, which involved my daughter, his youngest sister, because I couldn't do anything for him because it had to be a sibling.
Right.
Yeah. And Jade was the one that you know, she gave him stem cells, and even on that day, you know, they were sitting there, had to transfer from Jade to him, you know, just laughing and joking. He was even joking about the pain that he was in to, you know, to go through this. You know, and but each time he bounced back, and after, I mean, he even gave his sister away in the November. He was cancer-free in the August, and he gave his sister away in the November. But come around the Christmas time, I noticed he started to...
How old was he then?
At the time,
so when he was diagnosed,
he was diagnosed, he would have been, I don't know, he was
22.
About 24.
Okay.
No, 23, 24, yeah, around that age. And then, you know, at that time, I mean, he lived his life to the full. Okay. You know, we were always around him, because as you can imagine, I was...
It's really hard. As a mum. Really, really hard. Yeah.
But he was so positive.
Pretty close, don't we? Give me a hand. Okay.
He was so positive. Yeah. You know, he encouraged me, you know, and I had to, no matter how I was feeling inside, I had to be the strong mom that he always viewed me as. You know, everything that came my way, he always saw me fight and get back up again and stand. So I was always very careful. And one day in particular was really hard, because I bumped into one of the specialists. Yes. And he said, he actually told me that Ricky was... And I remember, because he'd just given his heart to the Lord, and I didn't want anything to break his spirit. So I remember being this, you know, fierce mum and saying, you do not tell my son this,
Mm-hmm.
or you're not going to break him,
Mm-hmm.
you know, he's going to make it. Because in fact, I dismissed it as far as I was concerned. However,
Mm-hmm.
because he was in pretty bad shape at that particular time, yes.
You okay?
One day in particular, because at the crack of dawn, I was at the hospital with him, you know, and in the on this particular day, I remember, this is when it came back aggressive, and he was a bit, you know, bent up, and I remember him going into the side room, just to the toilet, and, you know, the brains and the human body, it's such a complex thing, because I remember when he went into the room, I broke down, just to see. And as he walked through, as he came back in, my eyes were dry, and I was this strong, oh, how are you doing? Mum again. And then he fell asleep, and I was just stroking his hair. And while I was stroking his hair, I broke down again. But by the time he woke up, he sensed. But by the time I was like, oh, did you have a good sleep, you know? And,
so, Sonia, did you feel that you couldn't let him see how it was affecting you?
Ricky has always viewed me as a very strong woman.
Yeah.
He's seen me fight. He's seen me beat him down. Yeah. You know, even with his dad and stuff like that, he's been there when his dad has done a hell of a lot to me. So, but he's always seen I used to joke about things a lot. And then obviously I'd weep behind closed doors, you know. So it's like, I think deep down I felt that if he saw me crying, it's like he'd lost. And I've given up on him,
so
and he might give up.
To keep him strong.
Yeah.
So what kept you strong? I mean, you did cry.
Oh yeah.
But your mum, this is your baby. Your baby.
I think part of the strength. I don't feel I was strong at the time, but I just felt that my strength would be his strength. My fight would be his fight to keep going. You know. And
so inside of you, it's like you were dying. You were like broken.
Absolutely dying. And the thing is, his sisters were dying inside, and you know, it was hard for me because I'm the mother, the father, the granddad, I'm the everything to him, and I had to try and be strong. And we were going through a lot of other things as well on top. There were people, you know, beating us down and dragging us down, and really, you know, we just didn't get any peace whatsoever. So, but I just felt that my strength was his strength, you know.
So. We're 5 years on.
Yeah. Well, 5 years down the line, this is near the Christmas period. He wasn't feeling too brilliant, and it was one of his nephew's birthday party. Yeah. So I took him upstairs and I said, "This is it. I was ready to fight the devil." And you know, I was praying and I was just coming against everything I could come against. You know, and I'm saying, you know, he's my son, he's God's son, and you're not touching him. And you know, and after the session, he just lifted up, you know, lifted his spirit, and he was like ready to go. And then, but he started to complain, you know, like a sore throat, and he got in contact with the hospital, and they said, well, we're going to have him in. The day he was going into hospital, we went into a few shops, and as usual, Ricky's special, he wanted me to buy something.
What do you want?
He just wanted me, he's just like, "Mum, just go in, pick anything that you want, say for myself."
Right.
And I don't know whether you do this, but it's like I look for the cheapest, the cheapest thing that I could. Yeah. And he was like, "No." Well, I'm not really a dress person. However, I did spot a dress. And I mentioned it to his fiancée, and he was like, and he says, "Is that all you want?" I just picked up a t-shirt, and he's like, "No, we have more than that." And she mentioned this dress, and I said, no, I was only admiring it. It's a nice dress. And he insisted that I have this dress. He said, "Mum, you have to have the dress." And he bought it for me. Well, while in hospital, he was, you know, he was doing fine. He wasn't in pain. He wasn't really in pain. He wasn't complaining about being in pain, but he just felt, you know, sick, and he started to lose the muscle function in his legs and stuff like that. And a few times he tried to reach out to his father, who wasn't there. And there was a time where his father sent him a message pretending to have a particular illness that Ricky had got at the time, saying, using it as an excuse to not visit him. And that's something that kind of like, it tore me up, because to see my son cry because his dad wasn't there. And he actually said to me, he said, what's wrong with me? Is it me? And I said to him, no, it's not you. It's nothing to do with you. But he decided to send his dad a last minute text, just telling him how selfish he was. And if he wanted to be there, he could have done. Well, it just started to slip a little bit. Wasn't very happy with the hospital treatment. I had to take on a lot of, as far as I'm concerned, I had to take on a lot of the nurse's duties with him.
You were caring?
Yes, I was caring for him, because I was going up
hospital,
and seeing some sights that my mother shouldn't have to see. You know, and I remember one day saying, I saw a family going into that room. I said to my daughters, I hope and pray that I never get called into that room. Because, you know. And one morning I had a dream, I had a vision about Ricky. And I had a call, in the dream I had a call to say that he wasn't responding to treatment. And they were moving him. And in the dream, it took me forever to get to the hospital, because I'd already had an awful night, because he sent me a message. He sent me a message asking me if he could go home. But my daughter, Jade, she thought he was saying he wanted to come home to me. I said to her, he wants to go home. But it's like he was asking my permission.
Yeah. But Mum, can you go now?
Yeah, he was asking me if he could go, because from day one, we were like this.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's funny that I couldn't sleep, obviously, because of what he'd messaged me. And I said to him, I said, you need to be where you are, allow the Father to work with you. The following morning, well, not even the following morning, a couple of hours later, I get a phone call to say that he's a bit irritated and what have you. And the most overwhelming fear came over me, because I just didn't want to go and see my son lying unresponsive. So my daughter was with me, and she just said, come on, and we were standing outside, and we just started to praise God and give God thanks for another day. And, you know, just praying for him, running for him. But when I got to the hospital, I couldn't go up. And I sent my daughter and everybody else ahead of me. But when I eventually pulled myself together and I went up, he was lying on the bed, he was looking, and my friend said all he was doing was, as if to say, where's my mom? But when I got up, it was a beautiful sight, because they were all praying and worshipping. But they had to move him to intensive care. But the funny part about it is I've never seen someone so at peace with going into intensive care. With hindsight, he knew that was, he was ready. And I was told that 3 days before and I said, I thought he was ready. The person said he's made his, I thought his choice was to stay. Yeah, so, but, yeah. Anyway, a few days later, we were called into that room. And I didn't want to hear one word that I had to say, because I was telling them, I believe God's report. I don't believe your report. My God said he's going to be healed. But my God never told me that he wasn't going to take him. So...
Your God didn't tell
he didn't tell me that.
He didn't say he wasn't
He
going
didn't
to
tell me
take
that. He didn't tell me that.
Okay.
I think he told me things, but I just blocked it out, basically, because everything was, when I look back, it was all there. It was all laid out on a plate for us. We was the ones that were in denial. And the day before, he eventually passed away. But when Ricky was born, he was on special care. He was whisked away from me and taken to special care. And that broke my heart because I couldn't hold the baby when he was born. And then the night before he passed away, his father decided to turn up. But I wouldn't allow him to go into the room. And I pushed him out. I asked him what he wanted. And according to him, he didn't realise how bad. Well, because he's not a very nice person, I asked my daughter to go and ask Ricky if he wanted to speak to his father. He said no. He said no. But in my heart, I believed, because I believe he was happy that his father eventually came.
That was enough.
That was enough. Anyway, that night, everybody else went home, and I decided to stay. And I remember sitting on the couch and saying to the Lord, I feel like you're just giving me that last night with my son. Just me and my son. Yeah. And the following morning.
Like that first day.
Yeah, that first day I was robbed.
Yeah.
And then it's like this last day, it's just for me and my son. Even though I said that, I was still in denial because Ricky was my best friend since I was 17 years old. He's been through thick and he's always stood by my side. He's always stood by my side. It was despite some of the things that he's been through in life, and his father aided, which was very, he was a good role model to his children and his nephews. And his nephews, he was known as Daddy Ricky.
Wow.
He was their father as far as we're concerned. He was the apple of everybody's eye.
So, Sonia, wow. I have a son, one son.
Yes,
I know how
yes,
precious that is.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So, living now without your son, how is that?
At this precise moment, I didn't for a time. And it's funny because it's like my life was on hold, and I was full of anger. I was full of hatred, especially for his father, letting him down. I was upset with God. We're very angry with God. I remember the one day saying, it's me. How could you do this to me? No, I'm supposed to be your, but God has been so good. Because how I've dealt with things, because I was literally, it wasn't getting any easier. It seemed to be getting worse. And I cried out. And what God has, because I don't verbalise very well. So I started to write poetry. So everything, all the grief came out in poetry. And he also showed me, kept reminding me of a picture that Ricky had made for me years ago. And also through prophecies, and I've started to draw again. And it's been, in my grief, I've been able to bless others. Because even when I said I don't want anything to do with God, I was still ministering. I was still helping so many people who were going through. It's been 7 years.
7 years.
7 years, yeah.
Wow.
But it still feels like yesterday, But, at this precise moment in time, in memory of my son and his strength, and the fact that he always wanted to see me happy, he always pushed me in the right direction, that, I'm taking steps now because of, when he closed his eyes, the minute he closed his eyes, I said to him, I'm going to write that book. And I wrote a book, not yet published. I want to put the poems in book form. And also, I have sold some of my artwork as well. So there's a journey ahead, and it's all with a push spiritually from my son, Yeah.
That is amazing. Often people do channel their grief drives people to being creative.
That's right.
It drives people with their compassion, with their ability to give.
Yeah.
It's transformational.
That's right.
Losing someone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, Ricky was a wonderful gift.
Oh gosh, yes.
Wonderful gift.
Yeah.
You're blessed to have.
Yeah.
Son.
Oh, definitely, most definitely.
Wonderful.
Yeah. But it's always God that keeps me going, and I think, you know, it's nice, as you said, to give out and seeing other people blessed.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Seeing other people blessed with my story or with my giftings, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, that's a bonus.
Wonderful.
It's a bonus. I think that's what keeps me going.
Wonderful. Sonia, thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, on the couch with Marcia M. Just been speaking with Sonia about losing her son, who was her best friend, her partner in life since she was 17 years old. And she's been through a process of nursing him, praying for him, caring for him through his illness, and being there at the time when he died. Continuing to be involved with her grandchildren, but also channeling her grief. You know, a really powerful story of motherhood, of that relationship between mother and son, and the way that grief can impact us, but also the way that grief can bring out creativity, ministry, and passion. Thank you so much for viewing this show. Thank you. Thank you, Sonia.
God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you.